This was an historic summer, one of the driest on record, with large portions of the Northland in severe and extreme drought. Burn bans were in place, and by August, wildfires were sparking all around the region. In the midst of that, the Alborn fire chief decided to blow up a golf cart, igniting more than just flames.
All right, this is Forest Officer John Handrick. I am heading to interview Rob Obe, responsible party for the Stony Brook fire.
Okay, so 12, go ahead. We arrived at Stony Brook.
This is what's left of an old golf cart Alborn Fire Chief Rob Obe and his family blew up on August 14th. The explosion so big it sent one of the wheels flying 180 feet.
How much tannerite did you guys use? Do you remember?
It's 30 pounds.
30 pounds? Okay. It must have been a pretty good boom, huh?
It was one of those going from a hero to a zero like that. Like, wow. But it was kind of neat.
More than just the cart went flying that night.
But there was one ball of fire, and I have a feeling it was probably the fuel tank or something.
So it was an old gas golf cart?
This one is a gas golf cart.
Okay.
The fireball landed in what the Obes say was a swampy area. They thought it would go out. It didn't, and the flames started to spread.
At that point, it was, run over and do the attempt on your own, right? And then you realize, nope, we need the big boys.
They called 911, having sparked what would grow to be the 30-acre Stony Brook fire. Over the next couple days, DNR crews joined local departments battling the flames, including Alborn, Grand Lake, and Industrial. Air Resources pitched in, working to stop the flames as they spread toward nearby canyon.
Very active fire in lowland ground, stagnant spruce for the most part, that was spreading.
In an interview with the DNR, Obe's wife, Kristen, appears to blame the rapid spread on a slow response from Alborn firefighters.
They didn't give Rob the resources he needed, literally sat there and did nothing, and refused to bring things down, refused to bring hoses and radios.
According to the incident detail report, the 911 call went out at 8:25. The department answered 1 minute later and had 2 trucks on the way by 8:31. They arrived at 8:37, just 12 minutes after that initial call.
In my estimation, it's not a miracle, but it's a slight miracle that it was actually kept as small as it was. With the strong southwest winds that we're experiencing, I mean, it could have been much larger.
Mm-hmm.
They got it under control, leaving blackened land and a big bill, more than $100,000 in suppression costs.
Such a dumb thing got to cause so much pain and suffering in the community.
Dale Larson is a lifelong Alborn resident, serving on the town board for the last 22 years. He says they had no idea their fire chief had started a wildfire until an anonymous complaint arrived in early September.
So the disappointment was that was the first part, and the second thing is that he didn't come forward and tell anybody.
Larson says firefighter and EMT Stacy Kleiner found the complaint in her mailbox and brought it to community leaders. No one seems to know who wrote it, but a couple weeks later at a fire department oversight meeting, Kleiner was fired from the department.
My belief is that it was in retaliation for bringing that complaint forward.
According to meeting minutes, it was Chief Obe who made the motion to terminate Kleiner, while also recommending his own demotion. He and the other 2 members voted in favor.
Voting on your own discipline is kind of bizarre.
Christopher Simons took over as fire chief. He couldn't comment on Kleiner's firing, calling it a personnel issue, but says it was not related to the whistleblower complaint.
Coincidence of timing, maybe, but retribution, no.
Kleiner's termination was also a break in protocol. Typically, removing a member requires a 2/3 vote by the firefighters. The minutes show board members discussed following that protocol, but decided against it.
And personnel issues, once you don't follow them, for one, you don't follow them for anybody, so you might as well throw them away.
Simons was at that meeting and says if the fire department can't resolve an issue, it's on the oversight board to take action. But the Alborn firefighters never voted on Kleiner's termination, and she was not at the meeting to defend herself. Then, after firing her, the board asked her to stay on and train her replacement.
We're trying to minimize the damage that it caused to the department, so we're not just leaving a big gap.
Larson says Kleiner has retained a lawyer who advised her not to speak to the media.
I'd like to see her back on the fire department. I think that we're less safe without her.
Meanwhile, OB is still an Alborn firefighter, responding to calls and collecting the annual stipend. Simon says he has confidence in the former chief.
He was taken out of the chief role. He was taken away from being able to be an officer. I'm not a fan of getting rid of anybody. We don't have to.
The DNR cited OB for careless and negligent acts, a $100 fine, and sent him a bill for $100,000, the cost of fighting the fire he started.
And after, 27 years on the department, I've been chief for 17 or 18. I, clearly should have known better.
The flames of the Stony Brook fire long since extinguished, but the controversy sparked in this small Northland community continues to burn. That $100,000 bill OB received should have been bigger. Unlike the other departments that responded, OB did not bill the DNR for his department's efforts to fight his fire. That means the Alborn Fire Department absorbed the cost. It's funded by taxpayers. We reached out to OB for comment, but he declined to speak with us.